Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, working towards the weekend. A lot of LSU baseball talk, SEC baseball talk in hour number 1. We'll talk to Chris Blair coming up in 15 minutes. I want to talk to him about Jalen Reed, who made the announcement today that he will be back at LSU for some hoops next year, and then we'll talk some baseball with Chris as well. I'll join him on the call on Saturday's game. Looking forward to that. 2 o'clock start in Game 3 between LSU and Mississippi State. Also, Blake Baker spoke with the media today, and we'll get into some of that at the bottom of the hour. I thought I've got a piece up at LouisianaSports.net right now talking about the safeties, and I thought some of what he had to say was interesting about the safety position. They've got to be better at safety this year. There's no doubt about that, and I talked about that on LouisianaSports.net, and I'll do so coming up at the bottom of this hour as well. Sweet 16 cranks up this evening. Really good slate of basketball. BYU and Alabama, 6-2 matchup just after 6 o'clock. You got Maryland and Florida, a 1-4 matchup at 6:30. Arizona and Duke, 2 blue bloods in the sport, at 8:39. And Arkansas and Texas Tech at 9 o'clock tonight. That's from out in San Francisco. I'm just going to put the cards on the table here. I don't think I'm going to watch any of this, and that's disappointing.
Why not?
I would like to watch, but I'm going to watch
LSU,
every pitch of LSU's baseball game and then the Cubs play. I could see a scenario where I throw the Cubs up on the laptop late night and watch Texas Tech, Arkansas.
Houston, Purdue's at 9 o'clock. That's tomorrow. Sorry,
That's tomorrow. Arkansas, Texas Tech's tonight at 9 o'clock. And I want to watch Arkansas play, and Texas Tech's really good. And there's a chance I watch the late game, but there's no shot at all of me watching BYU, Alabama, or Maryland, Florida, because I'm going to be completely locked in on Cade Anderson's start at the box. So I love the Sweet 16. I love the NCAA tournament. This is great matchup stuff. My personal hierarchy of what I'm doing is just going to dictate that I watch LSU baseball tonight, but it should be awesome theater. So I do want to break it down a little bit for those that will be watching, because I am interested in it, just not enough to pull off the LSU baseball game. So BYU and Bama, I think, is going to be an incredibly aesthetically pleasing brand of basketball for the non-partisan fan to watch. Clearly, if you're a BYU fan or you're a Bama fan, you're in on this. It's your team in the Sweet 16. But even if you don't have a rooting interest in this, which most of my audience does, and it's for BYU to beat Alabama, but even if you're from Toledo, Ohio, and you're just checking this game out, it's going to be fun. Bama's offensive efficiency is 9th in the country. BYU's is 11th. Bama's 9th in the country in threes attempted per game. BYU is 18th. That's way, way high. The game that is not coming out of my mind right now with this matchup is Alabama went to Columbia, Missouri, and they could not stop Missouri in the regular season. It was just an avalanche of buckets from 3, from the rim, at the free throw line, and they just got into a rhythm, and BYU is capable of doing that. Now, so is Bama, and we know that. But this is a BYU team that is good, and they can really score. So I think Bama may be in a little bit of trouble here. I would love to see that.
Take the over, probably.
It's 175.5.
That's a lot.
It is a lot. It's, that'd be, you're looking at 87.5 at the midway point. So, yeah, they expect these teams to be knocking on 90's door, and I think that's reasonable. So it's just for the bipartisan fan, lock in. It's going to be fun. This is one of those that could get away from Alabama. Now, if Alabama won this game 97-80, by 17 points, I wouldn't be surprised at all. But this is the kind of team that I think you got a better chance of beating Alabama because they can't stop you than you do of Alabama.
We saw that with St. Mary's. It was the total antithesis of Alabama.
And you have to keep up with Alabama to beat them. I wouldn't even love the elite Virginia teams, trying to slow Alabama's efficiency down on the offensive side. You got to go outscore them like Missouri did in that game I'm talking about. So I think Alabama could be in trouble in this one. I love BYU in the 4.5 points. We'll see how that one shakes out. Maryland and Florida. That's from out in San Francisco, 6:30 start our time. Derek Queen is going to have to be a star in this game. when they almost beat Michigan in the Big Ten final, he scored 31 points. I realize Maryland's balanced. I know that they don't play a lot of guys. Crab 5 is as elite nickname as it gets. They've got some talent. They got some guys, but Queen is the most talented guy, and he's the guy that could give Florida some problems. I just don't think he's going to, and I don't think Maryland's going to. Florida is so complete. They are deep. They will grind you out. They play defense. They're tough to guard, and you have to exert so much energy on both sides of the floor against Florida. You've got to sit down and guard them, and you've got to work to get your baskets. They're not a one-dimensional team, and I think when you look at that, that's going to get into Maryland's legs. And I could see Maryland go into the half down 1 here and losing by 16. It just feels like one of those games. I like Florida laying the 6.5 points here.
Surprisingly, the shortest line for a 1 seed. They have 6.5. All the other ones are 8.5 or 9.5.
I mean, Maryland's good. Like, they have a good team. But I just think that because Florida wears you down so much, I realize that Maryland is like 1,000 times better than LSU. But LSU went on a 22-2 run against Florida at the end of the first half, and then Florida just laid them to waste in the second. That's how long you have to play well to beat them, basically. Like, the LSU just threw an uppercut at them, and they're like, all right, cool, see ya. And again, I'm not trying to suggest that LSU is as good as Maryland, but that's something that my listening audience was aware of at the time, and so I bring it up. I don't think Maryland can be good enough long enough to beat Florida. So give me the Gators minus the 6.5. Arizona and Duke, Blue Bloods, great uniform matchup. I think this is going to be a classic up in Newark. 9.5 is the number on this game. Look, these two played in November. Duke won it 69-55. That was a completely different Duke team. I actually watched Duke. I watch a lot of Duke in November and December because they're on a lot and because you've always got the next NBA draft dude, generally speaking, on that team. And I just want to get my first look at him. And Cooper Flagg was not great the first 10 or 12 games. He turned the ball over a lot. I mean, you knew who he was, but now he's the best player in the country. And that's the spear for Duke. So Arizona's getting a completely different team. However, Arizona's played pretty well this year. They've got some good wins. They beat Iowa State, who's good. They beat Texas Tech, who's good. They beat BYU, who we just talked about. They're good on offense, 24th in offensive efficiency. They're okay on defense, 76th in efficiency. Caleb Love is going to be the key here for Arizona. Duke's got a lot of different guys that can beat you, and Arizona does to a degree. You don't generally get to the Sweet 16 with one dude unless you're Davidson. But Caleb Love's going to have to be really good in this game. I don't think he's enough. I will take Duke and lay the 9.5. I don't feel as strongly about this one as I do the other two, but I just think Duke's too good. I picked him to win my bracket. I feel like Flagg is healthy, which was the biggest question when I was filling out my bracket. He's now had another week to get ready, so give me Duke to win that game over Arizona by more than 9.5. And then you've got Cinderella, John Calipari, against Texas Tech from out in San Francisco. Here's the biggest thing for me in this game. Adu Thiero has been Arkansas's best player all year, and he got hurt, and he hasn't played. And John Calipari said this week that he can give us 10 or 15 minutes. Here's my take on that. If you can play 15 minutes, you can play 25 minutes. This is not a Kirk Gibson World Series, I can't run, but I can swing the bat once and see if I can't hit it over the fence. If you can go play in a basketball game for 15 minutes, you can play for 22 minutes. So I think Adu Thiero on adrenaline is going to go out there and play more than the 10 minutes John Calipari's talking about. Now, is that enough to keep up with Texas Tech? They've got Boogie Fland, who's back, and he actually played pretty well. They got Big Z, who has sometimes been unstoppable and sometimes been a complete liability. I'm impressed that John Calipari has gotten this team to the Sweet 16. I don't know if my pride's going to allow me to give him any credit for it.
I texted you after they won, and I said, looks like we have to. Looks like we gotta give Cal his credit for it. And you're like, nope, I'm not going to do it.
I don't have to do that.
I'm not going to do it.
It's not a rule, but maybe that's naive. I don't think he X's and O's it. I think he got a bunch of good players with a NIL budget, and they sucked for most of the year, including here in the PMAC, and they didn't suck the last 2 weeks. And they didn't suck when they went to Rupp Arena. Sometimes they don't suck. Sometimes they have sucked. I think they're going to suck tonight, and I think Texas Tech's going to smoke them. I think Texas Tech is going to annihilate Arkansas.
I'm surprised this line is as short as it is.
And look, Arkansas has undoubtedly played better since like February 10th. But I just don't buy it against a really good team. I could come back to rue that day. I will be pulling against Arkansas for sure here. But you look at late season and you look at who Arkansas beat. I mean, they lost to South Carolina. They lost to South Carolina by 19 points. Yeah, they beat Texas. Yeah, they beat Missouri. But they beat South Carolina. They beat Mississippi State by a point. They beat Vanderbilt. They didn't beat Alabama. They didn't beat Florida. They didn't beat Tennessee. I just don't think when they are going to play a team that's really good, they didn't beat Ole Miss. I think they're going to get beat by 15 points in this game. That's just my feeling on it. Credit to them for getting this far. Yeah, that's a really nice win against Kansas. Yeah, that's a nice win against St. John's. I get it. Those are real, and you're getting 83 back. But I just don't buy it. And I think that they call it Cinderella for a reason. You eventually turn into a pumpkin. Give me pumpkin Calipari this evening for Arkansas. I think Texas Tech wins that game convincingly. So give me Texas Tech. Give me Duke. Give me Florida, and give me BYU in those 4 games. Take a time out, chat with Chris Blair, talk some baseball and some basketball as well. That's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is that website. Jonathan Carver and his team are phenomenal to work with. I know insurance is not a super fun topic, but it's important. And I know that because I spent 7 years in the business, and I watched terrible times for businesses be helped, rescued, use your term, by insurance. And I've also seen in auditing policies, like sometimes insurance is written wrong. And if you're paying a lot of money on the premium on the front end, and then you're not covered and you got to pay more out of pocket for the loss because you didn't pay attention to what the policy language read, like that's the problem. And that's not going to happen to you if you work with a Highland Insurance Group. They are experts in reading policies, correcting mistakes, and making sure that their clients are buttoned up. Yes, they pay attention to premium. Absolutely. But the most important thing is making sure that when you pay that money up front with the premium, that you're taken care of on the back end when that hurricane comes, when that car accident comes, when that lawsuit happens. You want to make sure you're taken care of. The Highland Insurance Group will make sure of that. Call Jonathan Carbo and the team at Highland Insurance Group. Check them out online, HighlandIG.com. It's the Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. In 15 minutes, we'll talk about what Blake Baker had to say today, specifically about his safeties. If you'll recall, Brian Kelly routinely last football season talked about how they've got to get more production from the safety position. They've got to play better against the run, got to stop the big plays, and it just never really materialized. It got better after Guggenheim was ripping off huge runs and Lenore Sellers was ripping off huge runs. But they were never great back there, and you got to be in this era better with your last line of defense, and they've put a lot of work into that. They've got some guys back from last year's team. They've got some transfers in, and Blake Baker talked about what they're looking for from their safeties. And we'll talk about that in the next segment. LSU Mississippi State tonight, 7 o'clock, first pitch from the box. And it's a big game for LSU. You understand that you've got Mississippi State's ace going tomorrow. They're starting an opener in this game with Evan Ciari. You've got your ace on the mound and Cade Anderson. So it's a big spot for the Tigers. And on the call tonight will be Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers. You can listen to it on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. Pregame firing up at 6:30. Chris joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Chris, how are you?
I'm great, Hunt. Ready for a Thursday, Friday, Saturday series, man. I don't know if I'm the only guy, but I really like these series.
Well, good, because you're getting 4 of them this year.
Yep.
4 of the 10 are going to be on on Thursday, and there are only 8 left, so half of them on the rest of the way are going to be on Thursdays. Let's go back to last weekend. A great environment there on TV there at Dish Falk, and thought LSU handled it really, really well on Friday behind Cade Anderson. Was that the case from your vantage point?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first of all, there were a ton of LSU fans there, and there were times when you would, something the Tigers would do on Friday night that went well, and for a split second, you would almost think you were at the box. It was kind of amazing how loud they were. But I think Friday was kind of the example of what went right and what went wrong over the weekend, and I think it all starts with pitching. Cade Anderson was phenomenal. He kept Texas a typical team that likes to make you make a mistake, so they're very patient. He got ahead early. They couldn't afford to be patient. They had to maybe press a little bit. And then Zach Cowan came in and absolutely shut the door, and you kind of felt pretty good after Friday night. Like, okay, this Texas teams, they got talent, but, if you throw strikes and get ahead early, you kind of take some of it's a little bit of a kryptonite. And unfortunately, that did not happen Saturday nor Sunday. Pitchers getting behind, no free passes on Friday, boatload of free passes Saturday and Sunday. And again, Texas is a good enough team that when they can be patient, you get behind, you walk players, a solo home run becomes a 3-run home run or a base clearing double. And so I think it all came down to pitching. And, I think Jay has discussed that this week in some of his media outings. And I'll be interested to see, how the combination is put together this weekend from a bullpen perspective. And hopefully last weekend overall is just an anomaly. And I will say this, 9 of the relievers who came in Saturday and Sunday, this was their first SEC road environment. And I'll give Texas credit. I mean, they only seat about 7,000 or 8,000, I guess, there. But they had sold out the entire weekend. So it was a road atmosphere for LSU once they got going. So maybe again, that was just an anomaly. These guys kind of getting into what it takes to pitch and compete in these type of environments, because goodness knows this isn't the last one they're going to run into.
I can't pretend to be in those meeting rooms with Jay Johnson, but I can read some context clues from his press conferences, and certainly you have him on the coach's show every week and are around him a good bit. But I'm he's talking about looking at the scoreboard and seeing how many runs SEC teams are scoring as a whole as a whole league outside of the game that he's playing, and he knows how good his offense is. And I'm thinking he's looking at that going, I mean, look, teams are scoring a lot of runs. We're not asking them to be perfect. Just don't give them anything. Make them earn everything, and our offense will probably earn more, is I'm imagining what he's probably telling them.
Oh, I asked him point blank Monday night. I said, Coach, you've seen the scores. And this particular past weekend, it was amazing at how many scores. And we know who the pitchers are. We know some of the marquee names that are in this league. Does that surprise you at all? And he immediately, again, he's not a guy that's reactionary or overreactionary. He doesn't hit the panic button. In fact, I don't think he has a panic button, which I admire about him. But he said, look, Saturday we played good enough to win. Frankly, we scored enough runs to win, in my opinion. The lead went back and forth in the middle innings, and they were able to get some separation late because, again, we didn't pitch the wall well. We didn't get ahead of hitters early. But I'm okay with what happened on Saturday. Didn't want to lose, and nobody hates losing more than I do, but it's going to happen in this league. Sunday's a different story. Didn't feel like they competed offensively like they should have. And I asked him, I said, is this an issue across the conference where the offenses are just so strong that maybe we ought to look at evening things up for the pitchers? He's not ready to go there yet, like when the bats were changed several years ago, when the offenses became too dominant. But I think he's well aware of the fact that these are offensive-heavy baseball days, and it certainly is in the SEC. And I don't think you're going to start to see these scores come down. He made an example, Hunt, of when he got here his first year, a typical SEC game in his mind was 6-4 or 4-3. And he said now all of a sudden they're 12-8 and 17-4, and so I think there is an uptick in offense, and we'll wait. I just don't think this past weekend was an isolated event. I think the offenses overall are probably the most dominant, certainly in college baseball, but without a doubt in the SEC.
Cade Anderson's 100th pitch on Friday was 95 miles an hour. His 101st and final pitch was a strikeout over 6 innings on the road at Texas. I liked what he did the first 4 weeks. I liked what he did against Missouri, but last week kind of felt like a step. You saw it in person. What'd you think?
Yeah, no, I thought, are these numbers real? And that's not because I doubted Kate Anders, and it's just each week we move along here. Certainly when you start league play, that level of competition jumps up, in my opinion, based on this year's non-conference schedule, quite considerably. And for him to be able to do what he was able to do against the Jim Schlossnagle team that by design says, wait the pitcher out. Don't be in a hurry. Don't go swinging at first pitches. Make them work, and they eventually will make a mistake. Well, he didn't on Friday, and that's why LSU won pretty convincingly.
I'm really interested to see how Anthony Ianson approaches the game tomorrow, because on the other side is going to be one of the better pitchers in the Southeastern Conference, and this is the first time that Ianson's kind of seen that. And I'm curious to see if there's a little pep in his step, and maybe we don't see a little bit of that version that struck out 15 a few weeks ago.
Yeah, Coach said Monday night, he said, look, we had an evaluation, as we do each and every week, on what went right and what we need to improve on. And, I'm paraphrasing a little bit here. But he said after meeting with Jamie Tutko, who handles all the analytics, and Coach Nate Yeske, the pitching coach, they were kind of like, hey, guys, we're going to need better efforts moving forward. And that's going to start this weekend. So he didn't call out anybody by name, but I think we've all seen enough from Anthony Ianson to realize his stuff is really good. He's got the stuff to be not only successful in this league, but one of the top pitchers in this league. Starts out, gets a little shaky, and then kind of digs in a little bit better. My fear, which is kind of what happened on Saturday against Texas, is that as you play these really good teams, that half inning or inning and a half where you're not quite getting ahead of hitters, you're not able to get the two-strike pitch to get the out, you're going to get in trouble. And to me, that's the thing to watch tomorrow in this game, as you said, because the other side's going to be as good or better than you are. So you have to be able to match that standard. And that, to me, I think can really solidify Anthony's position as your game two starter, depending on how he plays tomorrow. Now, that's not to say I think there's going to be a major change made. But Jay mentioned the fact that everything is on the table. And, 3 years of Coach Johnson would tell you nothing's put in stone. And whoever the starting rotation is in February is going to be different when conference play starts in March, and it could be radically different in April, again in May, and also in June.
No question, and it's still early in the baseball season. Week 3 of SEC play starts tonight. Basketball going to have a lot of overturn here with the roster, but Jalen Reed did announce today that he will be back. You got to see him early in this past season. I know how excited the coaching staff was. I'm excited to see him for a full season next year. You?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I've been around Jalen enough to know that he's been very appreciative of this staff, in the sense that they've always had a belief that he has the ability, the frame, and the development potential to be a major factor in the SEC. And to be honest with you, Hunt, I thought he was well on his way based on the handful of games we saw this year before he went down with injury. So I think that's a huge get, because he's a program guy. Those are rare these days, to have a player at any school that's there 2 years, 3 years, certainly beyond 3 years. And I think that helps. That's going to help. Now, obviously, everybody else, there's a lot of overturn. That's not something new, and that's not an LSU problem. Or not even a problem for that matter. That's just the world we live in now. But I think it's nice to have a piece like Jalen, who's been through it, has bought into what they're selling, and you've seen his play improve each and every year. So for him to be healthy and pick up where he left off and hopefully be even better next year, I think is certainly a shot in the arm that this program needs.
I'll see you on Saturday. I'll see what you can do with the Coke Zero stash in the fridge, if you could.
Oh, I've already filled it up for you, man. I did it. I anticipated your arrival, so on Tuesday it's ready to go. Barring Doug takes care of all 12 of them tonight and tomorrow.
Well, we'll see. Just let me know if that happens. I'll need to be on alert. I'll see you on Saturday. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, I'll tell you if you need to pick some up on the way in.
Sure. That's Chris Blair,
all right.
Voice of the Tigers. You can hear him tonight on Eagle 98.1 here locally, or wherever you listen to the LSU Sports Radio Network. 6:30 pregame with he and Doug Thompson. LSU and Mississippi State, 7 o'clock first pitch from the box. When we come back, some LSU football. What did Blake Baker say about the safeties? We'll do that next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. I know a lot of folks locked in an interest rate 3-4 years ago that they just love and are not in a hurry to move, but you might want to upgrade somewhere, somehow. Here's how. One Bath and Closets. Customized closets. Customized bathroom. You can do a full-scale renovation or something simple like a tub-to-shower conversion. David Duvall does these things all the time. If you're looking for maybe a little bit of inspiration, well, what can I do? Go to onebathandclosets.com or check them out on Instagram, One Bath and Closets, and just see some of their great work. You can see that they do vanities, they do walk-in showers, customized closets, racks, cubbies, mirrors, shelves, drawers. If you are not happy with your living situation one way or another and want to change that without moving, a little renovation. It doesn't have to be a massive, intensive, intrusive process that's worth just $1 bajillion. They got financing available. They can do quick turnarounds. It's One Bath and Closets. Check them out online. OneBathAndClosets.com. OneBathAndClosets.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show. Hopefully Hunt remembered to bring his laptop charger. Nah, there's no chance.
LSU spring football off and running. They're about halfway through. I think spring break will take a week there, but off and running for sure. And we've had a pretty good look at spring practice to this point. Had a couple of 20-minute check-ins, but a couple of 2-hour sessions that we've been able to watch. And there are a lot of things that LSU's trying to accomplish here in this spring. And Blake Baker met with the media today, of course, LSU's defensive coordinator, and kind of touched on a number of things. One of the things that I took that we won't have sound on, but I'll just kind of lay it out paraphrasing. They are really working on individual development this spring, as opposed to scheme and as opposed to installing different things on offense and defense. And because of that, they don't really care who's running with the ones, who's running with the twos. Just as long as you're getting the reps that you need, that's the most important thing. And that is, I think, helpful when we're giving practice reports to y'all via the radio, via podcast, via YouTube, via the written word that we do on LouisianaSports.net. Like, to understand, like, yeah, we're seeing different units at safety, different units at offensive line. This guy's running with the ones at wide receiver. This is the tight end rotation they're using. But really, they're mostly focusing on individual development. And one of the places where that development has got to happen is at safety. LSU was simply not good enough at safety really the last 2 years. And it has shown itself in coverage. It has shown itself in the big play. It has shown itself in missed tackles, poor run fits. LSU just simply gave up way too many big plays the last 2 seasons. They cleaned it up a little bit later in 2024, but for the most part, it was just too much. You're talking about only Vanderbilt and Texas A&M allowed more 20-plus yard runs among SEC teams. So you were 14th of 16 teams in 20-plus yard runs. You were the worst in the league at allowing 40-plus yard rushes. No one allowed more. And so you look at the rotation that they've got at safety, and you know that Major Burns has moved on, and you know that Sage Ryan's moved on, and Kylan Jackson's moved on. And Jordan Gilbert, who started 9 games last year, beg your pardon, he's missing the spring because he's got a shoulder injury that he played with really the whole season. He's a seasoned vet. He started 2 years at A&M, was the starter last year for LSU, and he's banged up, but he'll be back. And now you're trying to work some either younger guys or new guys up toward that high level of play. The 2 younger players who are out there taking a ton of reps for LSU right now at safety are Deshaun Spears and Joel Rogers, both from right around here, and both guys were very highly recruited players. I thought this really short soundbite on Deshaun Spears was very, very telling from Blake Baker, and I'll add an anecdote after you hear it, but this is what he had to say about Deshaun Spears.
Nobody was harder on Deshaun Spears last year than me, and it's starting to pay off. You know, the dude is making a ton of plays out there.
And I agree. I haven't seen every practice. They let us in when they let us in, but in the 2-hour practice we got to see on Saturday, I did see Deshaun Spears running stride for stride with Bauer Sharp, who's a good athlete, and he knocked down a pass over the middle. I've seen him come up and make some plays in the run game as well. We thought last year that Deshaun Spears was going to fight his way to the field. And early on, it kind of looked that way because in weeks 2, 3, and 4, all the way through South Carolina and all through UCLA, you saw him getting more and more playing time. And then LSU went to the first bye week, and Ole Miss was after that, and the coaching staff said, we're going with the old guys. We're going with Jordan Gilbert. We're going with Sage Ryan. We're going with Major Burns. Those guys are all 4th and 5th year players. They're playing. And they sat Deshaun Spears down, and they sat Kylan Jackson down, and they sat Joel Rogers down. They said, we're going with the old guys. Well, the old guys are gone. So Deshaun Spears' time is to move forward and to become a force on this team because he looks like Eric Reed. He's got the big physical frame. He runs well. He's just got to know where to be, and he's got to make plays. And it sounds like they're encouraged by what he's done through 2 weeks of spring ball. Now, one name I didn't mention in all of that was Javian Toviano. Now, Javian Toviano was a 4-star recruit, versatile defensive back, bring him in, plays a little bit here and there. LSU was looking for anybody that could play corner on the outside in 2023. In 2024, Toviano was away from the team briefly before camp because of the legal issue. Then he came back, and we were at practice. All he did was work out on special teams, wasn't in the mix at all on the defense. And then he played a little bit at corner, played a little bit at nickel, played a little bit at safety. And you're going to hear this in Blake Baker's bite. Like, they feel like finally now, entering Javian Toviano's 3rd season with the program, they've got a better plan for him.
Toviano, to me, you know, I thought from a coaching standpoint, I think he's finally settled into what he really is. We had him at corner. We had him at nickel. We had him. I think he's a safety, and he's tackled outstanding. He's had a really good spring.
So that's good to hear. He's got a physical enough frame to be safety. He's never been the fastest straight line speed guy. Like he's a little bit more physical than he is fast. He doesn't play like PJ Woodland or like Ashton Stamps. Like that's not his profile. He's a little bigger and more physical. So he can slide down and play in the nickel, but I think he's probably more comfortable at safety. And so they finally got him there, and hopefully you can unlock that. It's hard on young players to learn how to play 3 different positions. I talk to Brandon Taylor about that every year because BT came in as a corner, and they played him at corner, and then he learned some nickel, and then finally moved him back to safety. By the time he got to safety, if you needed him to come up and play corner, he knew where to be, but that was his 3rd and 4th year in the program. Early on, your head's spinning a little bit trying to learn all this stuff. So hopefully Toviano has settled in a spot and can have a positive impact. This is a bite from Baker about Coach Olson and really the entirety of the group and how they're progressing.
I think Coach Olson's done a really good job, man. He's stuck with it. The kids have stuck with the process, and it takes time. You know, I always say everybody wants to, you know, it's like an instant oatmeal. They want an instant player. They want to pour the water in and mix it up, and boom, here it comes. It's not always that simple, especially at this level, and especially for what we asked our safeties to do. So I'm really, really proud of that room. I think they're coming along. TaMarcus has been a great addition. Adds some really good speed in the back end for us, and he's played a lot of football, again, going back to what we looked for in our transfers. So I think that room's coming along. Still got a ways to go, but they have definitely gotten better from last year.
And he mentions TaMarcus Cooley in that bite. And so you've got some variables as far as skill sets go. Like Deshaun Spears is 6'3" and 215 pounds and like an imposing figure. TaMarcus Cooley's 5'11" and fast. Javian Toviano is a little bigger, a little more physical. Joel Rogers is 6 feet tall, 205 and fast. So I think they've got some variations of what they want to do. In my head, this time last year, Deshaun Spears and Kylan Jackson were like the next dudes up, and Jackson's moved on, obviously. But that doesn't mean that you don't have ability. And so you have Jordan Gilbert, who's going to be an incumbent starter, and then you've got Spears and Toviano and Cooley to fill in and find that other spot, plus whoever can move down and be a little bit more versatile and play in the nickel. I think Cooley's going to play. I think that it's likely Deshaun Spears plays. So if you ask me right now in late March, okay, what does it look like against Clemson? I think your safeties are Jordan Gilbert, Deshaun Spears and Tamarcus Cooley in some way, shape, or form in the back end of the defense. What they're asked to do, play to play, whether or not all three are on the field at once, who's the nickel, who comes off on 3rd and 9, who's in there on 3rd and 3, like all that can be rehashed. But they've got some numbers, they've got some talent, they have some proven production, at least in Gilbert and Cooley. It should be better, and it has to be better. We're trying in this analyzing LSU position to position in the spring and getting closer to the fall. Like, you're trying to now evaluate each position group based on a championship level. And LSU safeties have not been close for 2 years. You've got to get close. You don't have to be, it doesn't have to be Grant Delpit and LaRon Landry back there. You don't have to have Jamal Adams and Chad Jones back there. It'd be nice. I love that. But you've got to be good. And they haven't been good. And hopefully they're taking steps to that direction. Got some ability, but it's a matter of putting that together, and that'll be what Coach Jake Olson's got to get done here over the next few weeks. Then you go into summer, then you get into fall camp. It's time to hit the ground running. So that's Blake Baker on the safeties. Looking for LSU spring football coverage, LouisianaSports.net. Certainly on our YouTube channel, Hunt on LSU as well. That's available now wherever you find your podcast, Hunt on LSU. Speaking of LouisianaSports.net, we invite you all to download the 104.5 ESPN app. One, you can stream us and catch our stuff on demand there. But two, you can turn your notifications on and we'll send you notifications. We don't send you 4 a day. We don't even send you 1 a day, not even close. But if LSU gets a commitment, if the baseball game gets postponed because of rain, if LSU hires a coach, something like that happens, well, you'll get a push notification and you'll be notified. So if that's something you're interested in, highly recommend you download the 104.5 ESPN app and put your notifications on. All right, one more segment to go. We'll come back and close it out in the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is the website. Every car that is on the lot is online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. Genesis of Baton Rouge, the only fully exclusive Genesis dealer in the state. If you're in Baton Rouge, you're in the market for a vehicle, you're going to be on Airline Highway. Just make one more stop. Airline at Pico. I can promise you this. You will be incredibly impressed when you walk into that dealership. The building is immaculate. It's new. It's clean. The ambiance is great. You feel like you're walking into a big-time hotel. The staff is first class. They will handle every need that you have. It's not going to feel pushy. There's not going to be a bunch of pressure. You're not going to be getting upsold. You're just going to get a first-class experience. It's a luxury brand of vehicle. It's a luxury experience. And once you make that purchase, you'll see some of those perks. 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, 3 years of complimentary maintenance. It's 3 years of complimentary valet maintenance. Sedan all the way up through SUV. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge. Start your process online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com and get behind the wheel. Airline at Pico. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
The VEX European Bracket Challenge is rolling right along. Head over to LouisianaSports.net to see how you're stacking up for your shot at winning the $1,000 in grand prize money. The most accurate picks overall will take home all of that $1,000. It's the VEX European Bracket Challenge powered by 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I'm looking at a lot of ballpark food pictures that are popping up in my timeline on Twitter from opening day today. I hadn't been to Wrigley in 2 years, but I don't know of any good ballpark food options at Wrigley.
They
got an Italian sausage.
They had the Chicago dog, of course, which is not bad.
But that's not
it's not.
But they're going nuts. Yankee Stadium serving tiramisu. Rangers have this huge barbecue platter with massive tomahawk ribs on it.
Yeah, I went.
The Mets have this huge steak sandwich thing, and Wrigley's just you want some hot dogs, some peanuts? Come on by and grab it.
I went to a game last year, and I didn't see anything crazy in terms of food options, but that's just Wrigley. They don't need these crazy food items to attract people. They're gonna have the best attendance in the league probably, and it's because it's just Wrigley Field. Yep. They don't need all these crazy anything outside of the ordinary. They don't need it to attract people.
I would still like it.
I guess it would be nice, but I'm okay with a couple of old styles and a hot dog.
I'll have a couple beers for sure.
Yeah.
All
interesting thing, though. I noticed a lot of stadiums are doing this now. If you want to get alcohol, you have to get they give you a wristband. Yeah, instead of checking your ID. Yeah.
So we would walk into the stadium in Omaha 2 years ago in 2023, and like everyone's first thing, they walk right in and go straight to the wristband guy.
Yeah,
it's like a huge line forms.
Right. We were walking through the concourse and I saw this line of people in the concourse. Like, what are they waiting in line for? And I see them like at the end of the line. There's a table and they're handing out wristbands. I'm like, I guess you have to get these to get alcohol.
I really enjoyed my time in Omaha 2 years ago. I would really like to go back in a couple months.
Yeah.
And those accommodations have already been arranged. We just got to get a baseball team there.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Hopefully that happens. And maybe tonight, step in that direction. We've talked about it a bunch, but for now, let's play some Take It or Leave It.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
Just take it.
Alrighty, first one here. This happened yesterday, but longtime CBS commentator Jim Nantz says he plans to retire from calling the Masters after its 100th year anniversary. If you're wondering when that is, it's in 2036, 11 years from now. Announcing your retirement 11 years in advance. Take it or leave it.
Jim Nantz can do whatever he wants with the Masters. The guy's iconic.
So you'll take it.
I'll take it.
I'll take it.
He'll be 76 for that one.
Hey, Vern, how old is Vern Lundquist now?
He's in his 90s.
Yeah, but he's still sitting there at the tower at 16?
I think he finished last year.
Okay, yeah.
No, he's not in his 90s. So I didn't mean 90s. I meant 80s. He's 84.
Yeah,
so yeah.
and he
But
kept
last
doing
year was
it.
his last one.
Yeah, I think Jim can do it till he's 76.
I mean, look, Vern is an icon and did a phenomenal job at the Masters.
The most recognizable call in probably golf history.
Yes, two of them.
Yeah.
I mean, either In Your Life,
Yes.
something like that,
Yeah.
and Yes, Sir, with Nicklaus on 17.
Yeah.
But I think I could handle the one whole game.
Yeah, that's true. It's not
That
as
one
hard
is-
as what Dance is doing. That's
Trying
true.
to work with the producer and we got to go here. Get one hold when they call you. Like that one, you can handle that at 83.
Yeah.
If you're with it. So Nance is awesome, and if he wants to announce that at this point, he can do that whatever he wants. This is no longer Jim Nance week in 2 weeks because he doesn't do the Final Four anymore.
Yeah. Did you see? I don't know what happened, but I've been seeing a lot of stuff on Twitter about people complaining about a Masters ad. They usually just do Georgia on my mind, but I don't know if they did something different this time, and everybody's trying to create their own version of it because apparently the recent one they aired was not good. I don't know if you saw it.
I am unfamiliar.
Okay, I didn't see it, but I've seen people editing their own songs on top of the montage of all the players in the course and everything. So not sure what happened there. But anyways, moving on. Maryland basketball player, center Derek Queen, as we talked about earlier, very good player. He recently just signed an NIL deal with Dairy Queen. Makes sense, right? His name's Derek Queen. Dairy Queen sounds close enough to me.
That's remarkable. I'm surprised Dairy Queen hasn't already had a mascot named Derek Queen.
Yeah, that is kind of shocking. But the Terp star will feature in ads for the company, of course, promoting their famous Blizzard treat. Take it or leave it.
Gotta take it.
I'll take it.
Let's be honest, Derek's kind of a big boy.
He's a large.
He's probably had a couple Blizzards in his time. So he better not have any today because he's gonna have to be running.
Yes,
in that ball game tonight. But that makes a lot of sense, and I think that's good. I don't know that Derek's going to be hurting for cash here in the next 10 months. He's going to be just fine when the NBA comes calling. But that's a good NIL deal. I like it.
Yeah, it's solid. All right, last one. LeBron and Stephen A are feuding. Take it or leave it.
I'm leaving this. Both of them looked so bad in this. It's unbelievable.
That LeBron Pat McAfee interview was crazy.
It's tough. It's just a tough scene. He's bashing Windhorse for no reason, calling everybody basically a loser.
Yeah.
It just didn't look good. I could watch LeBron play basketball for another 20 years. I just think he's incredible. He's a savant on the court. He's been incredible longevity, and I could make the case he's the best basketball player who's ever lived. And if I was 10 years older and could watch Jordan and I wasn't 9 years old when that was happening, I'd probably have a better feel for it. But the public image thing just doesn't go great to me. It just doesn't. I'm anti the Bronny thing. And I just think that interview, it just looked bad.
It wasn't good.
There's just no high road taken whatsoever. So let me just take cheap shots at everybody I can find.
Like, I don't mind if you want to go in an interview and you want to be candid with how you feel, but like the way he went about it with, especially, the thing about Windhorst is like, okay, that's just not called for. It's unnecessary.
And it's not like Windhorst like goes on the TV and is like talking about how they're best buds and they're hanging out all the time. He just, whatever. It's just, I didn't love it. And then Stephen A, the whole tough guy thing is so bizarre to me. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
The bragging about getting into fist fights, I just think is the lowest form of like male. It's stupid. Whatever. We're done here on this Thursday. Hopefully the Tigers get it done tonight. We're talking about it tomorrow. Matt's going to drive you home on After Further Review. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place for a Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.